Hello and welcome to another update video about Ethereum. So let's take a look at the chart. Maybe today we haven't done it for a while from the daily point of view. Then we go down to the 4 hour. Just want to emphasize again where we are here, what might be the target for the next bull run and so forth. So here we have this this previous 1-2 setup where we bottomed in December 2018. And since then we moved up quite impulsively actually in a so-called wave 1, which peaked in May 21. So that would be within, obviously here you've got the 1-2 pattern back in 18. And based on that we would assume that a third wave, yeah, so 1, 2, you'd be looking for the third wave, which should eventually be somewhere up there, okay? So within that third wave, however, we've got all these subwaves which should be playing out eventually. So that means we are in a third wave, but within the third wave, we have done a wave 1 and possibly already finished a wave 2 here in June, July. It's currently not possible to say if this was definitely the bear market low. If it was, then it seems like that Ethereum is one wave or one step ahead from Bitcoin. The reason is that Bitcoin made a new low in November. Now, as we know, just making a new low doesn't really mean that, or doesn't really 100% differentiate between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. So Ethereum could also still be on track to make another low. We simply don't know it at this stage, which is why a tactical and strategic approach is so important. We talk about that as well in this video. But let's assume, okay, you know, wave 1 was finished, wave 2 was finished, and what would happen if we now go to an all-time high? Even if we make another low, it would not really change too much with respect to the targets. So let me just move all of this across all these waves here, because the price has moved on since I explained it last time. Something you always have to do when you do this kind of stuff. So if we talk about, right, next key target, or next all-time high target, would be basically to make the wave 3 of this, the wave 3 of this sort of blue wave degree, yeah? And that would mean we're looking for the wave 3. So the wave 3 would be around, the target would be around $9,270, possibly all the way up to 11K in a third wave. We should then get a rather shallow fourth wave. We should get a fourth wave. No, let me think. Well, a fourth wave is generally quite shallow, but I will explain, you know, what exactly I mean. And then we should get a wave 5, and the wave 5 should take us into the region around 13.8K. At least that is the textbook target, okay, for Ethereum in a wave 5, but that would only finish a wave 3. We should then still get another 4 and another 5, which could send us way higher. So Ethereum is on a growth path, in my opinion. We can see that this correction here, ABC, is quite steep, but technically it's actually, believe it or not, technically as an expanded flat, it's actually classed as a sideways correction. A wave 2, as which is different to what we did here, yeah. This is actually classed as a sharp correction because we made a wave which came down quite strongly, a B wave up, and a C wave which wasn't that strong. Here it's different. A wave, B wave, C wave down, expanded flat. Doesn't happen so often in a wave 2, but if you see that in a wave 2, the wave 4 should actually make a zigzag correction, which then again should be one of the sharp corrections. So be prepared that when we reach the wave 3 top, we might see quite a sharp move down, which makes sense because the wave 3 here would be quite strong. Then you see quite a sharp correction down. That just happens because it doesn't have to happen, but you see the alternation guideline in Elliott Wave, which means that flat patterns are generally sideways patterns. Now you might ask yourself, you know, why sideways? It looks like a sharp correction. Well, it does, but if you consider the whole thing, we basically, if you zoom out, right, we moved sideways all the time. So sideways because it fools investors, breaks down, it moves up again, yeah, it's actually quite a bullish kind of type correction, because the B wave was overshooting and then it comes down eventually in a C wave. The point why it's called sideways correction is because the B wave typically moves up quite a bit. Okay, so it doesn't really like this here, this kind of zigzag correction which we did. The B wave didn't even get close to the previous high. So either way, you know, bring in some education while we do this. But yeah, you know, that's sort of what we should do. And if we now zoom in and we go to the 4-hour chart, then you see that the path down of the, let me see. Yeah, the path down of the all-time high, you know, happened in a 1-2 setup, 3. This was possibly a 4, and then the wave 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here in this case, in this count, and there are various counts that you know how you can interpret this. Wave 3 is here clearly not the longest one, but it doesn't have to. Here in this case, wave 5 is the longest one. But either way, you know, it doesn't really change a lot. We've got enough waves to the downside complete to count it as a 5-wave move. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a C wave. Absolutely possible. And then we can say, okay, we bottomed here in June. At least that's one possibility. Moved up in a wave 1. We came down in a wave 2 in November. Didn't make a new low. That's different to Bitcoin. That's why I meant, you know, it's one step ahead for Bitcoin, where if this now develops an impulse to the upside and we don't make new lows, then it's one step ahead of Bitcoin. The reason is that you can count this as a 1-2 setup, and we're already in the 3rd wave, which I've got somewhere up here. Where is it? Disappeared, don't know. Somewhere we would have we would be in the 3rd wave basically. Yeah. So wave 1 here, this wave 1, wave 2, and then the 3rd wave would be somewhere up here. Roundabout, what would be the target of this 3rd wave? Let's just take a look. Minimum target would be 3,000, yeah, but probably more if you know, if we look at it like that. But that's sort of what we would expect. If this works out, at least $3,000 in the 3rd wave, and we might just be working on the 1st wave here of that 3rd wave. However, of course, it doesn't mean that this is a 1-2 setup, as explained before, and that's what Bitcoin probably is doing as well, or at least possibly is doing, because nobody's got the crystal ball. It's all probabilities. This could also be an A wave to the upside. This could be A, B, and the C wave up. And just by seeing 5 waves up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't mean we've got sufficient evidence that the bear market is over. Yeah? Just by not making a new low and just by making 5 waves, this does not indicate to us that this is over, you know, that the bear market is over. It doesn't, it just doesn't. Why? Because there is a very popular Elliott wave pattern, which is called flat pattern, or even a zigzag, where we can say, okay, we made 5 waves up here. We came down in a 3-wave correction, A wave, B wave, and we're now rallying up in a C wave. Absolutely no problem. A C wave has 5 waves. So just by making 5 waves, we don't know if the bear market lowers in, because after this A, B, C, yeah, maybe this is going to be some kind of a wave 4. So A, B, C in a wave 4, and we make another wave 5 down, and 5 waves get below the $1,000 level. That's possible. So when do we know with a high likelihood that the bear market lowers in? And I see people make mistakes all the time because, I don't know, nobody's talking about this, but this is crystal clear, yeah? Especially because the move of the June low is not an impulse, not a clear one at least, yeah? You can count it as a diagonal as well. And if you can count it as a diagonal, then the problem becomes that it could also be a correction, like an A wave, okay? So nobody, I don't know, I haven't seen anyone, I don't know, anyway. But it's actually so clear, which doesn't mean it needs to be like that we're going to make a new low, but the risk is still there. So yeah, surely it could be a 1, 2, 3, and we only make the wave 1 in wave 3, but then we need to wait for the wave 2. When we have a wave 1, we wait for the wave 2, make a higher low, and then this is where, when we then start to move up, this is where we can say with a great likelihood, okay, we are holding wave 2 support. So it's probably not coming down impulsively. It probably wasn't an ABC. It probably is a 1-2 1-2 setup here, which would be very bullish and set us up for a wave 3 to the upside, then we can say, yeah, probably the bear market low was in. 5 waves up, 3 waves down is only 2 steps of the confirmation that you need as per Elliott Wave. You also ideally need it to break above the wave 1 high here, but I wouldn't wait until then to trade it. Yeah, I wouldn't wait until then to trade it. The reason is then you are quite far away from support and you missed out on all of this movement here. Okay, so my strategy is going to be, okay, maybe scaling into the small wave 4 here for the wave 5, but then I'm really waiting for that wave 2. And here it's, you know, I'm going to be a bit more aggressive, and because this move up could take us to 10k and beyond. Okay, that's sort of where we are, and this should be a good explanation of what the possibilities are. Not telling you this is going to happen definite or that, because there's no point. What I can tell you is that sure, there is a case to be made that the low was in back in June, and we had enough waves down, and when we broke for the very first time, you can watch the videos from then, when we broke for the very first time, these here the $1,000 level, we had a first case to be made that this was an impulse and that we had the low already in. So I think we were quite good at catching the low here on this channel. Yeah, we talked about it after it. That was the first confirmation, the first 1-2 setup, and we broke above the high. I think at the time we even had an entry point here, and certainly I mentioned it when we broke above the wave 1, and I had my own entry point here, sort of in the $1,200 area, I think even a bit lower. So the point to play this is when you have enough waves down, you can speculate that it's not going to come down to that level again, and you can set your stop loss below the last low. So you're not going to lose a lot. When you apply Elliott Wave correctly, you can't lose a lot. Yeah, that's how you play it. And you have enough waves down, you set your stop loss if you want to trade this, and then you just let it run, and it wouldn't have been stopped out yet. Okay, so enough waves down, because you don't know, you know, this could become an ABC pattern surely, but when you have enough waves down and you see an initial impulse into the other direction, you go in and you set your stop loss below the last low. And then if you get stopped out, so what? You know, then you wait for the next entry point, which might not be far away. Okay, or you decide not to set a stop loss in a bear market anyway, because how far can we realistically still drop? That's the other question. But if you apply it correctly, you can't lose a lot. And then we came down here and we had a long term, I remember that. We had such a long term accumulation phase in this region here. We talked about that. I added to my portfolio in this region. So that's how to play it tactically. And anybody who entered, I mentioned it all the time that I set my stop loss below $1,000 here. And I still have, you know, plenty of these positions because I took profits, only 25% of profits up here in anticipation of the current drop, which I will use to add again to trade the wave 5. But this was so clear. I mentioned for 2 months we were hovering in this area and everybody had time to accumulate here, because Ethereum was much more attractive than Bitcoin at this time because it had not made a new low. You know, it was, this move up was much stronger and so on. And then we moved up, came down, made a sort of new local low, but didn't go below that low from June. And here again, posted it on announcements and yeah, on Telegram and Discord, that after the 9th of November I bought again ETH and waiting here for the move up, obviously, right? So that's how you tactically play it, in my opinion, best. Not try to trade every single wave, but you know, some people like to trade every single wave, but I wouldn't trade every single wave. I would trade the high probability setups in the waves. But if someone wants to trade only the larger waves, there you go, you know, that's how you do it. And then you actually can't lose a lot if you play it correct, and you can actually catch those bottoms with a super high accuracy when you use Elliott Wave. Okay, this video is already getting too long, so let's take a look at the shorter time frame price action. But here's actually not too much. It's not happening, right? It's we're still waiting here possibly for the wave 4. Support is round about 14.15 here for the wave 4, and this can be nearly finished. At the moment, I think we are possibly still in the third wave here. should get another fourth. That might land somewhere in the region of the previous fourth here, around 1550, and then we could get a fifth wave down. And I think that next week will be a major decision point here for the markets, because it could really be that over the weekend we finish this wave 4, 5, yeah. Maybe it goes into next week, and then either when we have CPI data release or before that we see quite a bit of volatility, and it could push us either to the upside here, or if it breaks below that yellow box, then we have to assume that we are like Bitcoin. First of all, the assumption would be that this is another 1-2, yeah. So that we had here a 1-2 setup, or even that these 5 waves in yellow were already complete and it's a wave 2. But the first view that I have is that this is a wave 4. If the support breaks at 14.15, we watch if wave 2 support holds, and if that doesn't hold, we probably continue with a bear market and retest $1,000, and I keep you updated. Okay, that's my update about Ethereum. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.